today a pretty special camera, the Hasselblad XPAN. This is actually the Model 2 XPAN 2. It's the first camera Hasselblad made that used a 35mm film as a substrate. The Hasselblad XPAN 1 was built between 1998 and 2002. There were basically around 16,000 units made. And the XPAN 2 was between 2003 and 2008, was a little bit more than 5,000 units made. And basically it was a joint venture with Fuji, Fujifilm, that I believe had started the project, and Hasselblad was eager to join in. And the basic differences between the XPAN 1, XPAN 2, and the TX1 and TX2, which are the equivalents for Fuji, is basically the surface treatment, which is known to be a little bit flaky and kind of leaves on the XPAN. But it's just a cosmetic. This machine is built like a tank. It is a rangefinder, so what you see is not exactly what you get, but it's a beautiful viewfinder otherwise, pretty precise, and probably one of the best, and great for its modes. Basically, it's an aperture priority mode camera. You can also do exposure compensation or go fully manual. And you will have the ability to switch between panoramic mode, which is basically 65 by 24 millimeters, or the usual 36 by 24 millimeter. And according to that, you will get a number of pictures left count. Here I have it loaded with some film. One thing that's different from many other cameras is when you put the film in. It's a motorized film traveling system. It will completely load the film in the camera and slowly put it back in its cartridge. So that's why you have kind of an accurate count of the photos left. And yeah, it is kind of a medium format camera in some ways. You do get this wide 65mm surface, and the lenses, there has been 3 lenses made for this camera. So basically here's a 45mm f4, which was kind of sold with it. You do have a 90mm here, 90mm f4 also, a great lens. And you have the rarer 30mm f5.6 lens, which is kind of rare because it's hard to find at a reasonable price. And with its external, it is better with this external viewfinder. Supposedly, I think with experience, using the rangefinder and looking at the extreme boundaries works pretty fine when you know what 30mm is. And it's got a level bubble also you can see in the viewfinder. So yeah, that's a great kit, makes for really great photos. It's quite noisy because the motor that winds the film can be quite loud. But at least when you finish the film, there's no other sound on it. And yeah, what else can I say? The screen, you can check your ISO, you can rewind the film, you can turn the light on. There's many things you can do with this. Here, example of the screen, quite readable. Some have questioned if problems arise, how can you repair it? I guess that's a good question, but there's still people who repair them. I never had any problem with it. Actually, no, I had a small problem. Basically, there's a small window behind. You can have light leaks here, and the joints can quickly get dried because it's starting to be an old camera. But yeah, pretty big, really great results. A completely different experience from many other cameras, really unique. And yeah, very enjoyable to use. Let's go see a few examples. The XPAN does those really large panoramic pictures. So this first picture that's with Metropolis 200 film from lomography. Probably not the best to give you a correct idea of the color rendering of the lenses, but that's what I do with usually my XPAN. This is on the Jura Mountains above a city named Yverdon in the snow. And that's the format you get when you use it in a landscape mode. But yeah, and a really, really precise rendering of the lens. Very nice and unique medium format-like widths, which can be vertical or horizontal. I tend to do portrait mode photography usually, or vertically oriented aspect ratios, and here you can see what the rendering would be. Again, with the Metropolis 200 film, I also tend to really underexpose my films. That's I don't care about the grain. I really like to have details in the skies, and I like to work with the matter of the film. So that's more part of my work. I push the camera to go to not overexpose everything. So. But a really great camera, it really works. The focus is just extremely precise. The use is great, and you really know what you're taking a photo of. You understand your composition. It's really precise. And here again in black and white, that's 5 examples. On the 2 pictures on the left, that's T-Max 3200 film. Here, I'm not trying to under or overexpose. I let the camera do its work. Really a great format for those like me who like very long, tall photographs. And the 3 on the right, the 3 pictures on the right, that's using RetroPan 320 from FOMA, an older looking emulsion. And yeah, both are, well, all the 5 pictures are taken in the Geneva region in Switzerland. But it gives you an idea of the kind of rendering you will get with, here it's basically the 45mm and the 90mm. Very similar renderings. They really look in their own class. It's a bit of the same with this 30mm. You won't be surprised, and you might even feel sometimes it's going to be hard for you to know which lens you use. They really have a very characteristic and similar rendering. Very precise, very good lines, very good respect of geometry. This picture in color, going back to panoramic photos, that's using Cine Still 50 film. So basically Vision 3 film without the ramjet layer behind. That's in Pescadero on the Pacific coast, north of California. Really nice format to document spaces. It gives a great sense of the width of the place, and I know the 30mm lens is hard to find, but with a 45mm, which is a large format, you can already do some really great things, and it's a really interesting format. Let's go to the next one. Again, same town, Pescadero in California. This really gives you the air as you would have with a medium format camera. It is medium format horizontally or vertically, depending on its wide side. So really a very interesting camera and quite unique, as already stated. Going to other films, that's T-Max 100 Kodak in Iceland. My scans are not perfect. There's lots of dust and everything, but yeah, it's just to give you an idea how you can use this 30mm if you find it. It's a really great lens for panoramas. Really gives you a huge opening on the space in front of you, and yeah, it's a 30mm in medium format basically, and this very thin aspect ratio is really dramatic in my opinion. So great for landscapes. Here again, Iceland, same thing. It gives you an idea of how different an image can look when you go to such an aspect ratio. And again, here I'm having fun with different films, probably not the good environments. Here it's a Cine Still 800T, so basically color balance for tungsten-like situations, but here I'm using it also in Iceland. And Cine still has this weird, because it has no ramjet behind, depending on how you develop it, sometimes you might mess up. And those glows on top and bottom, those are due to chemistry around the holes of the film, which will kind of react weirdly. Maybe because of how the ramjet layer is taken away. Anyways, and here again another photo. Most of the photos here, it's really to give you an idea of what that aspect ratio means, and being film, what kind of character you can have when you use different types of film. The lenses are extremely precise. They're really great lenses, the three of them. I actually used them. There's adapters for digital cameras. I've used them for my full frame SL2 Leica camera. They're extremely precise in every aspect, so they're really to a very high level. And one last photo. That's a very weird film, but it's a 1.6 ISO. It's a low ISO color film that was packaged by the Film Photography project. It's a film that was originally meant for copying, reproducing films, reverse scanned. I don't know how to say that, not printed, but when you use lasers to, for example, when you used lasers to, you wanted to put an image on the film from a computer, you could use that to reproduce or create technical animations. So very low intensity, and the color balance is really meant for laser LCDs and things like that. But this red bar on the left, I talked about it in my technical description of the camera. The small window behind the door of the camera behind, I had to tape it with black tape because it had a small light leak, and that's what it gave. And I think it's probably because of the very strong sun exposure on that day, and my camera was hanging on my neck and the sun hitting directly on this window. So I'm not sure it's an error, but that you might want to know that might happen if you don't cover it. I really think it's the back of that film that's a little bit light. It's not completely impervious to light. So, but anyways, here are the examples. A really great camera. This aspect ratio is phenomenal, and